When I was in sixth grade, I was like a baseball player and really good at it, so I was super arrogant about it. But it got to a point where I didn't treat people very well because I believed I was better than them simply because of my athletic ability. And I eventually made some mistakes socially that led to everyone not wanting anything to do with me anymore. And especially when I treated them the way that I had, I can't blame them one bit. So because of that, I ended up alone and not knowing how to deal with the guilt and the shame of the stuff that I'd done. So that was the first time I'd ever truly dealt with depression. People have asked, what does it feel like when you're experiencing depression? It's hard to describe what you feel like. The best way I can put it is it's like there's this dark cloud over you all the time. And like things could be going really well. I had straight A's. I had a gorgeous girlfriend. I was doing really well in whatever extracurriculars I was doing, but for some reason I just wasn't happy, wasn't satisfied. And so I would go about my day-to-day life and I couldn't really enjoy things as much as I'd like to. I guess the best way to put it is it wasn't always just being sad, even though a lot of it was being sad. Sometimes I was just exhausted and didn't want to do anything, even as far as like playing baseball, and I loved baseball. It brought me more stress than joy. And at my lowest point, I was just seeking some sort of self-worth. I'd beaten myself so much internally that I just needed someone to affirm me. So I spent a lot of time going to people telling them, oh, I hate myself or this or that or the other, just so I could get them to say you're not as bad as you think you are. Another big thing is I was never a big video gamer at the time, but I remember all I really wanted was to get a hold of like an Xbox or something so I could play whatever game so I wouldn't have to be me for whatever period of time. I got to be the person in the game, and that wasn't me. I remember actively thinking about like if I could just get something to help me escape where I don't have to be in this. When I started to overcome depression, it felt like a weight had lifted. And I know that's cliche. I know a million people use that exact same phrase, but cliches are cliched for a reason. That's because they're often true. And it really did feel like a weight lifted. I felt like I could breathe. I felt like I was free from it. The way depression feels, it almost just weighs you down. And then it was like someone had taken those weights that were on me and started pulling them off. And it was not a taking them off and throwing them away immediately. It was, let me grab this one, let me grab that one. I didn't feel like there was so much on my shoulders. I didn't have these inward self-hating thoughts that I tended to have. And when they came around, I knew they were wrong. A big thing when I started overcoming depression, I also had to overcome fear. Because depression becomes a part of you to the point where you're like, okay, this is just who I am. It's a part of my identity. And so letting it go is like you feel like you're letting go of part of yourself, which it's well worth letting go of it when you start getting better. I know that for people who didn't know me, they would see me getting papers back in class and with A's on them. They would see me doing well in social settings because I was always really good with talking to people. And so it really just looked like I was doing great, So it's hard to see. It's hard to see what's actually there. And the importance of honesty is that I could have maintained that facade and no one would have known the difference. If you're not willing to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, this is where I'm at, you're never going to get anywhere better. And if you're not willing to talk to people and ask for help and say, hey, I need you, then you're stuck. There's one thing about depression is it makes you want to isolate yourself. You've got to be able to fight that.